finish up the last bit of your sentence and then raise your hand if you'd like to share. Michael, what are 3 things that you remember?
In the triangle trade, they traded slaves. Native Americans died because of sickness of work. And African Americans came in after the Native Americans died.
That's right. So the Native Americans were dying. They were the ones that were originally enslaved when the Europeans came here, and then they were dying from disease and overwork. So we started importing slaves from Africa to replace the lost labor with the Native Americans. Would anybody else like to share? Aiden, go ahead.
At first they used Native Americans, but then the European government banned the practice of that, so that's why they bought or stole the Native Americans, Africans.
Sure, yes, so there was a document drafted that did protect the Native Americans from being enslaved. Yes, Evan, what do you remember?
I kind of wrote the same thing as you did.
That's okay.
I'm going to do 2, which is also what you wrote, and it's kind of the same thing as what I want to do. First enslaved by the Europeans to give the African Americans no pay in slavery.
That's right, they were unpaid labor. So the Europeans were making all of the profit off of the work of the slaves because they did not pay them. Yes, Nathaniel?
First, it benefited. Did I spell it right with 2 F's? Or is it just 1?
One.
Okay, just 1.
Yep. So go ahead, give us your 3.
It benefited all countries involved except African countries.
We will talk about that and how it may have benefited, but go ahead.
But most likely didn't because it was still kind of a thing, like
Okay.
kids and stuff. Still wasn't that good. Slaves were what the trade was known for.
Right.
It is kind of, not really, not at all, to be honest, shaped like a triangle.
It is shaped like a triangle, and there are 3 pieces between which 3 places were part of triangular trade.
When you showed us, it went like this.
Those were the trade routes that I showed you that went like that. But what were the 3 places that were connecting the triangle? Michael?
The Americas, Europe, and Africa.
The Americas, Europe, and Africa. Yes, Jack?
Actually, at first side, it was like,
Yep. All right. What was coming from the Americas? What were the things that were going on the ships from the Americas, Nathaniel?
stuff like cotton and the stuff that the slaves, I don't know the word, like, conjured.
Yeah, so it was the raw materials, and when they went to Europe, what happened to them?
They got turned into stuff.
They got turned into stuff. They were manufactured. And then what was coming from Africa to the Americas?
Slaves to help bring up that cotton.
To work the fields and the plantations to create the raw materials, yeah.
So does Europe use those raw materials to make stuff which it then gives to Africa?
Which it sells, yes. So the raw materials come from the Americas, go to Europe, it gets manufactured. They can now sell those items, and they have the free labor from the African slaves to work on those fields to create that raw material so that they're making money and profit.
So everyone's getting something.
So everyone is getting something except for who?
Africa.
The slaves, right.
Actually, and Africa gets firearms.
We'll get to all that stuff later. What we're going to do, Jack, do you have a question? Hold on. Hold your thought, okay? So because our smart board's not working and we have a nice video to watch that's going to sum all this up and give you a good visual of what the African slave trade looked a little bit like and the Atlantic slave trade in the Middle Passage. Remember, what is the Middle Passage? Who remembers? Aiden, do you remember what the Middle Passage is?
I do not.
Okay, who can tell Aiden what the Middle Passage is, Michael?
It's a triangle trade or the Atlantic trade.
But which piece of it?
The route.
The route between where?
Americas and Europe.
It's not quite. What is the Middle Passage? The journey between where and where?
Africa and the Americas.
Africa and the Americas, where the slaves were transported from Africa to the Americas. Jack.
So, America to Europe is untapped.
Sort of. All right, so everybody quietly bring your chairs over to the computer so we can watch the video. You may stand if you would like to. And Corbin will press play when we're all settled.
I'll take this shit off.
Nathaniel is going to come over and have a seat, and then we are going to be ready. Can everyone see the computer screen from where you are sitting?
Yes.
Okay. You may hit play.
Wait. Okay, hold on.
Nice and quiet, okay?
Historians estimate that between 1700 and 1870, more than 11 million men and women were carried across the Atlantic Ocean in ships like these. The passengers were forcibly transported from Africa to the West Indies, Brazil, or other lands of the Americas. These people were enslaved Africans, and their lives on board the slave ships were filled with pain, suffering, and death. In the 1500s, Europeans saw enslaved Africans as a source of inexpensive labor for their colonies. European planters established plantations or huge farms in North America, South America, and the Caribbean. As the plantations grew, more slaves were needed to work on them. Slavery had existed in Africa since ancient times. Some African kings and merchants captured people and sold them as slaves to European traders, as well as to Arab merchants. When the demand grew, kings often sent their warriors to attack neighboring villages for slaves. The Europeans treated slaves like cargo. They were locked inside cells for weeks until ships could take them to colonies across the ocean. For slaves, life on a slave ship during the Middle Passage was a nightmare. Even crew members were shocked by the conditions in the slave holds.
When I had to enter the slave deck, I was forced to crawl over the slaves. The Negroes are frequently packed so close together that they have not so much room as a man in his coffin. I was so overcome with heat, stench, and foul air that I nearly fainted. It was only with assistance I could get on deck.
Alexander Falconbridge. Although the transatlantic slave trade, the bringing of slaves from Africa to the Americas, was abolished by U.S. law in 1804, some traders chose to ignore them. They continued to capture Africans and transport them across the Atlantic. On June 28, 1839, the Amistad set sail from Havana, Cuba, bound for the Cuban coastal town of Puerto Principe. On board, Captain Ramon Ferrer carried a cargo of 53 African slaves, purchased in Havana. An African on board the Amistad named Senator P.A. fought the men who tried to enslave him and other Africans. One dark night, Senator P.A., called Cinque by his captors, unlocked his shackles using pieces of metal he found on the ship. Working quickly, he freed the rest of the slaves, and they prepared to attack their captors. The Africans took over the Amistad. The cabin steward translated the Africans' demand: sail the ship back to Africa or the crew would be killed. Instead of sailing for Africa, United States Supreme Court had recognized these Africans as free human beings. Although the Atlantic slave trade came to an end in the 1800s, the damage had been done. African societies were disrupted by depopulation and warfare. Some 2 million people had died on slave ships, and millions more had been forced to endure a life of slavery. Europeans first brought African slaves to the Americas to work A. as indentured
You
servants,
guys can try to answer these.
on plantations, C.
Indentured
as merchant
servants.
seamen, D. for
Is that what we think?
On plantations.
What decision
That's right, it's on
did the Supreme Court
plantation.
make in the case of the captives on board the Amistad? A. The court recognized the captives as free human beings.
Yes,
B. The court sent the captives back to Cuba. C. The court ended the slave trade. D. The court sentenced the captives to a prison term for mutiny.
You guys know?
B. Right answer.
What were the causes and effects of the Atlantic slave trade?
All right, we're actually going to stop it here. Corbin, would you mind doing that so we can get to our work? All right, everybody please quietly go back to your desk. You can just leave it and then we'll do that later. So go ahead and get back to your desk. Daniel, can you please stand up and go back to your desk? Thank you. Are we okay with this? Okay. So, we record this. Alright, so what we are going to do is now that we've gotten a little bit of a visual look at what the conditions were like on board the slave ships, and you got a little bit of an introduction to a ship called the Amistad, which we will learn more about. We're going to look at some primary source documents that discuss the conditions on board the slave ships. Who can tell us what a primary source document is? Evan.
If I remember what we learned a while ago, I think a primary source is where the source came from, what made it happen to the information, such as
Yes.
if someone tells you that your birthday was last week, but then you tell someone else that someone else's birthday last week, the primary source of that conversation was the person who said that their birthday was last week in the first place.
Yes, so the primary source comes directly from the person who experienced it or saw it themselves. Yes, Nathaniel.
it's kind of like, man, my pizza party was, my birthday was amazing. We ate pizza, we had cake, all this great stuff. And then you tell that to someone. Then they tell another person, like imagine I told that to Jack. Then Jack tells Evan, man, now, actually, I told Daniel, James probably wouldn't be there. And then,
Okay,
and
so
he'd be
wait,
like,
Nathaniel,
hey guys, that
Nathaniel,
party was amazing. He had pizza, cake. I wish I could be there.
Nathaniel, thank you, that's a great example. Which person has the account that's considered the primary source?
Me.
You. All right. So we're going to look at documents that are considered primary source documents, meaning as Evan and Nathaniel explained, they come directly from the person who experienced it themselves. Each one of you in your group will get a different document, and you will read through or look at that document, and you will become an expert in that document. You will then fill out this sheet, just about the one that you read and just this first box. So if you got the document written by the slave ship doctor, you will fill out box 1 right here. Nathaniel, do you see?
Yeah.
If you got the document about the slave ship diagram, you will fill out box 1 right here. When you have finished reading your document thoroughly and filling out box number 1, you will then describe to your group what your document said and tell them what you learned from it. Then as a group, you will go in and fill in these boxes that ask you how what you read is similar or different to what the other people in your group read. So how is what the slave ship doctor wrote different from what the former slave wrote? All right, does anybody have any questions about that? We'll go through it together. So the first step, number 1, all we're doing right now is you're going to read or look at your document and you're going to find it here and fill out box number 1, okay? Jack is going to be, slave ship diagram. Nathaniel will get the autobiography of the slave. And Michael will get slave ship doctor. I'll get from the doctor. You are the doctor today. Alright. So let's see. Do you want to be the doctor? Doctor, autobiography. And Evan can get the slave ship diagram. Alright, the other thing I would like to mention to you is that there is some tough vocabulary on your sheets. But you have a vocabulary key at the bottom. So if you see a word that is bold, it is likely a word that you may not have seen before. And if it's bold, you can find it defined on the bottom. So what I suggest you do is you take a quick look at this vocabulary before you start reading so that you familiarize yourself with words that you may not have heard before or may not understand. Okay? So just take a few minutes and read through your document and prepare to fill out box number 1.
Can you give us the survey paper, can you?
it is time to start writing, when you've finished reading, what you're going to do is write down, according to your document, what you just read. What are 2 or 3 ways people experienced the Middle Passage, the transatlantic slave trade, according to your document in box 1 on your section?
The ways they did, right?
The ways that they did. So if it says that it was crowded, if it says that they were hungry, if it says that there were bad smells, one of those are ways that they experienced the Middle Passage. So those are the types of things you'll write, but it's according to your document.
Suicide.
That's probably one that would be a former slave.
Yes.
It's probably
Yeah, and they probably.
We will get a chance to have a conversation in a little bit, but right now this is just done individually.
Okay.
Do you remember 3 ways that the slave ship doctor explained the voyage or the experience?
Excuse me. What is the first
One
one?
moment, Michael.
What is the close reading again?
So close reading is what it's asking you to do. What are 2 to 3 ways most people experienced the Middle Passage according to your document? So what are 3 things that they say the experience was like?
So I have to write either 2 or 3.
2 to 3 things, yes. What do you think, Aaron? So just worry about talking right now. Perfect, yes. And just write one more thing that you remember. One more way to describe the way they experienced it. And when everybody has, Aiden, you can't do that one yet because you haven't heard how they're different because we're going to talk to each other. All right, so you can't fill in the other boxes quite yet until you talk to your classmates.